Imagine, if you will, you are at your rehearsal dinner the night before your wedding. You're at this beautiful old historic inn in a gold mining town in the foothills of the Sierras here in California. It's this exact time of year. I think it was like December 6th, December 7th. During your rehearsal dinner, you notice some flurries of snow. Just this beautiful, serene, magical touch right before your wedding day. As a matter of fact, your videographer notices it as well, gets some footage of it, and then you guys don't think anything else of it. You go to bed. You wake up the next morning and immediately you notice the power is out at the inn. Not a great start to your wedding day. You open the window and are shocked to see 2 to 3 feet of freshly fallen snow from a freak rogue late fall snowstorm. You quickly find out that the power has actually been knocked out to the entire town, and they have no idea when they will be able to restore it, let alone plow any of the roads so that people can get to the venue or that you can even move around the venue. Welcome to the wedding of Bess and Austin. Welcome back to the channel, guys. My name is Dave with Amari Productions, and if this is your first time here, we are a small creative studio specializing in wedding photography and videography based here in Southern California. And on this YouTube channel, you can find everything from wedding planning advice and tips like last week's video on wedding vows, all the way to BTS daily vlogs of running a small creative studio or going behind the scenes on an actual wedding day. So if you are planning your own wedding or dreaming of your wedding someday, or if you yourself are a creative, hit that subscribe button, ring the notification bell so you know every time that we post. I would be remiss to not also mention that you can find us on TikTok and Instagram at Amari Productions. So today's film is one that I've had on the docket since the moment we started this channel. This was high on my list of stories that I wanted to tell. Matter of fact, when we first filmed this wedding back in 2013, it was actually one of our top samples for several years. But the thing I always hated about it, and then just, you know, wedding videography and the layout of it in general, there's no place in your website or in the highlight film to talk about all the hurdles you jump through, and you certainly don't want to make somebody's highlight film about how, you know, we got snowed in, how there was no power. You want to focus on the positive. So we've never gotten to tell this story. Seeing that Bess and Austin's anniversary was right around the corner, I figured now was the time to tell this story so that you could see exactly the time of year that this happened and just how wildly out of the ordinary it was for such a storm to hit when it did. So let's start from the beginning. Yes, the power was out to the entire town of Sonora. Luckily, we still had cell phone signal. I can't remember how that worked. So we were able to get a hold of Bess and her team, and Bess was able to start calling around town to figure out how far outside of the city they were gonna have to go to find power. And the answer ended up being like 20 minutes to a like roadside motel, like 20 minutes away down the snowy road. So that's actually where we ended up meeting Bess to start the day. And we also had no idea when power was going to be restored to the city. So we went through the morning thinking, okay, Bess had to move where she's getting ready, but everything's gonna be fine. The power will be back on by this evening, because here's the other crazy part about this. The ceremony was scheduled to happen after dark in the barn on the property. So if the power didn't come on by sundown, we were going to be having a impromptu candlelit ceremony. So we go through the morning just hoping that the power is back on by the afternoon so that once the actual wedding ceremony reception starts, everything will be fine as long as the power is back on by the time their actual, you know, wedding day, wedding events start that evening. But of course, the power did not come back on by sundown. So we were setting up for this candlelit ceremony, and it quickly became apparent that there was just not going to be enough light. It was going to essentially be pitch black. We wouldn't even really be able to film. Thankfully, we always travel with 2 LED light panels that are tunable, so we can make them really warm to match candlelight, we can make them really cool to match more like office lights, and we actually ended up setting those up to point at the altar. You can see it in this wide shot from our back cam. Look at how dark the foreground is. That is the level of light that we would have had in that room had we not had those light panels. But luckily we did. We pointed them at the altar, and we were able to pull off a candlelit ceremony that just happened to have enough ambient light to be able to clearly see the bride, the groom, the officiant, and their bridal party. But I will say this, the one thing I didn't think about is I had them both pointing at the altar. People start walking down the aisle. I'm filming back up the aisle towards the back, and it was then that I immediately realized like, oh shoot, I should have started with one of them pointing backwards, because now I'm literally filming into pitch black, and I have a very vivid memory of just how dark it was. With the naked eye, I could not see out the back barn doors. It was just black. But thanks to camera technology, through my screen on the back with everything wide open, I actually could make out everybody lined up. I was like, naked eye, can't see anything. On my screen, I can. Another quick little note here, this was in 2013. Our business was only about 2 years old. So I'm fairly certain we were still shooting on 60Ds, which are crop sensors, not great at low light. ISO gets really noisy above like 800, and we didn't have L series lenses yet, so we were shooting on like a 50-1.4, not the nifty 50, but the one in between that and the L series lens. So if you are creative and you're thinking I need to get this camera, this piece of gear, no, you don't. Watch this whole film. It was all shot on 60Ds with only like 1 or 2 L series lenses, and it was literally shot in the dark, and we still were able to get Bess walking down the aisle. Now, once we solved the riddle of the ceremony, things were going to get exponentially harder for the reception, because all we had again were those 2 lights, and for the ceremony it worked because we pointed them at the altar. That's where all the action is happening. For the reception, we had formal events. We had, you know, dances, we had grand entrance, we had toasts, we had open dancing, and our lights were just not strong enough to light more than just one specific area. So we actually didn't even end up filming cocktail hour at this wedding. As soon as the ceremony was over, we ran down with all of our gear. The venue had a few generators. They had enough generators to barely get a couple of lights on, to get the DJ 1 speaker, and to cook dinner. The DJ was able to give us 1 outlet between us and the photographer to charge our batteries, because that was another hurdle. Like, we woke up in the morning, luckily we charge all our gear, you know, obviously beforehand, but we woke up in the morning with no way to charge batteries the entire day, including our lights, which we have now been running since the ceremony. So we have 1 outlet to charge batteries, we have 1 speaker for the DJ, and a very, very dark reception room. What my wife and I end up doing is basically choreographing a routine of how we're going to move our 2 lights from grand entrance to first dance to speeches to try to salvage, to save something from this basically pitch black reception. And as I am walking between the barn and the reception venue, cocktail hour is happening like down the hill at another building, all of a sudden all of the lights at the venue snap on, and from down the hill I hear a scream of joy that like gives me goosebumps now just thinking about it. As everybody at the cocktail hour, I'm pretty sure Bess and Austin were actually in the cocktail hour at that moment, like interacting with their guests, because they also were in that cocktail hour. We're just having a generator like barely light the room, so when all the lights turned back on, it was very apparent that we just got power back at the venue, and everybody down there lost it, like 10 times more than when they pronounced them husband and wife, 10 times more when they did their grand entrance like 20 minutes later. They lost it, and I remember just like sprinting up or down the hill towards Mariah, like doing like jumping jacks, like, oh my God, thank you, Lord, we have power back. The reception is saved, the wedding is saved. And so that is the Cliff Notes version of just the absolute craziest wedding day we've ever had. And so thankfully we were able to pull off the reception normally after a day of incredible hurdles. But here's what I love about that story, about this film, and about this couple, is watch this film. If I hadn't told you that story, you would have no idea the hurdles, the adversity that Bess and Austin faced literally the morning of their wedding, throughout the day of their wedding, at their actual ceremony, all of the adversity they were facing. You would not know it, because for as tough as it was, and I'm sure it weighed on them so heavily, that was not what they were there for. It did not change why they were there. It did not change what was going to happen. It did not change the fact that they had the love of their life with them. They had all of their family and friends around them, and they were about to vow the rest of their lives to each other. We are actually friends with Bess and Austin now. Anytime we go up to San Francisco or they come down to San Diego, we'll message each other and get together to catch up, have breakfast and lunch, and we even have kids now that are about the same age. So as you watch this film, enjoy the snow, enjoy the variety that a snow wedding brings. Enjoy their love, knowing now the adversity that they had to go through, and then also enjoy their vows. They were both very, very good, very well written, very genuine, as we talked about vows in last week's video. If you didn't catch that, go here. Bing! I watched last week's video. I can't believe I just made the sound effect. That was so lame. But then the other thing you can look at in this video is this is one of the last times, again, our business is only about 3 years old. I wasn't confident enough yet in my storytelling ability to trim somebody's vows down. It was about the next year after this where I finally started to feel comfortable enough to really pull out the essence of, anyways, you don't care about that. Watch this one if you want to see a sample of what it would look like to put the entirety of your vows in a wedding highlight. So you can see, do I want to trim it down more to, you know, the best pieces of my vows, like weave them into the story, or do I want to break away from the story to show my vows in its entirety? So I think we open with Bess's, and then we get into the film, and then in the middle we have Austin's. All right, without further ado, the wedding of Bess and Austin.
Austin William Yount. Oh, good start. You take my breath away. I have been falling in love with you every day for 8 years, but today takes the cake. With you, I walk slower, breathe easier, and I worry less. With you, I love deeper, forgive quicker, and live more humbly. With you, I am stronger, I am gentler, I am happier, and I am better. I promise to always walk beside you, even when you're dragging your feet. I promise to still speak to you in the very, very hypothetical situation that I lose to you in something competitive. I promise to always make sure you know how proud of you I am. I promise to only push you lovingly when you snore. To always thank you for the little things you do, because I notice all of them. I promise to see any superhero movies you want, at least the ones that aren't bloody, scary, or animated. I promise to stop trying to make you appreciate ketchup on your french fries and special aiolis on your sandwiches, even though I know how tragically you're missing out. And I promise to never take you to a lunch food only restaurant on the weekend when you have plans for pancakes and eggs. I promise to always support you, to always challenge you, to always thank God for you, and to love you more with every tomorrow. And finally, I promise to stop talking now so we can get married.
Song, every note I will follow. Ooh, Tell me your secrets, I'll keep them close to my heart. Every high, every low, no power could take us apart. Give me a story, I'll give you mine. Don't care where we're going, anywhere you are will take. Don't need nothing else as long as I'm here with you.
Musicbed SyncID. Today is the day I've been waiting for my whole life. I've been thinking about this moment for 8 years. 8 long years.
For you?
Through countless memories and hundreds of baseball games. You've been by my side through some of the best and toughest times in my life. Up to this point, many of the following have been unwritten promises and assumptions, but today we make them official. That being said, I promise to you that our life together may not be perfect, but it will be ours, and we will live it side by side. I promise to make you a better woman in the same way you continue to make me a better man. I promise to constantly challenge you and never to just let you win. Because I know you have that. At the same time, I promise to never keep count how many times I actually win or lose. I promise to always be there for you, to cheer on every accomplishment, support every decision, and to console you during Flyers, Phillies, and Eagles seasons. I promise to bring you flowers for no other reason than because you are my wife. To spoil you, learn from you, teach you, and eventually show our kids who has the better swing. I will always hold your hand and promise to never take you and your love for granted. Above all, I promise to love you to the moon and back.
I'll give you mine. Don't care where we're going, anywhere you are will do. Don't need nothing else as long as I'm here with you. Don't care where we're going, anywhere you are will do. Don't need nothing else as long as I'm here with Don't care where we're going, anywhere you are will do. Don't need nothing else as long as I'm here with you. Don't care where we're going, anywhere you are will do. Don't need nothing else as long as I'm here with you.
Thank you so much for watching today, guys. If you haven't already, hit that subscribe button, ring the notification bell so you know every time that we post. If you want to see what it is like to go behind the scenes with us on a wedding day, you can click this one up here. Down here, I'm just gonna let the algorithm put whatever video it thinks you will love. And yeah, my name is Dave with Amari Productions, and I'll see you next time.